The Elder Scrolls 6 is still a long way away, but that's okay. It might try to do something that no other Elder Scrolls game has ever attempted to do, but that's okay. Let them try. They might even dare to have a voice protagonist, but if they do, it's not the end of the world. Weird to hear these things from an Elder Scrolls YouTuber, right? Well, that's the reason I'm making this video. Before beginning to make content myself, I had been a viewer just like everybody else for the past 9 years. I watched and listened and started to believe too. Yeah, maybe Bethesda is the new EA. How dare they try to monetize mods and waste time on Fallout 76 when they could be making the Elder Scrolls 6. But then I stopped watching and started playing again, and found myself realizing that most of my negative opinions and fears for the future were not really my own. I just felt like they were the right opinions because that's what the rhetoric of the community was at the time. If my favourite YouTuber says these things, then that's how I should feel, right? Well, not quite. So let me do the unthinkable and try to give you an alternative opinion on why I don't think you should worry about the next Elder Scrolls. For as long as I can remember, people have been saying about how Bethesda should hire mod authors to make content for their games. And then in 2017, Bethesda released their first content update to Skyrim since the Dragonborn DLC, and it was in the form of the Creation Club. For a short while there was optimism. The thought of Bethesda adding more quests, locations and items to a game which came out in 2011 was exciting, but it wasn't too long after the first couple of releases in which things started to turn sour. People began to believe that Bethesda was simply offering too little content for too high of a price tag. A single armour and weapon set would cost around $5, the same price as the entire Hearthfire DLC. And that sentiment more or less repeated for most items in the store. And then the sentiment began to float around the community that this was just the beginning of Bethesda's attempt to monetize mods. So how could you possibly not see this as a bad sign, you might ask me? Well, let me do my best to explain what I think is really going on here. For years, people have pressured BGS to hire mod authors, and then when they did, creating an entire new marketplace in all their games, shining a spotlight on some of the most talented members of the community, and paying them for their creations. They caused one of the biggest controversies since Oblivion's horse armor, and some of the complaints with the system do come with the way the mod authors are paid. They receive a one-time payment to create the content piece, and then Bethesda essentially owns that item to profit as much or as little as they want afterwards. And is this fair? Well, no. And, well, yes. You see, this type of thing isn't as evil as it seems. In fact, it's pretty standard freelance practice. You hire someone to do a job for you, and then do whatever you want with that product afterwards. Like hiring an artist on Fiverr, or commissioning a voice actor. If someone hires me to edit a video, standard practice isn't to pay me a percentage of whatever that video makes every month until the end of time. There's an upfront cost, and then that's just how commission work goes. And yes, in a perfect world, it would be nicer if the mod authors got a cut of the profit. But I don't really think Bethesda should be villainized for reaching out and doing the one thing people have pressured them to do for so long. Commissioning these mod authors real money to do what they've been passionate about for up to 10 years of their lives. And at the end of the day, it's for their game that Bethesda spent their long nights to create. And that's the thing I want to anchor home in this video. I think after the whole Cyberpunk fiasco especially, I've started to see how rough it would be for a developer working at CD Projekt Red, or Bethesda for instance, and being called lazy or inept for things like bugs that end up in their game. Because I think people probably underestimate how much most of these developers adore the game they're trying to create. Imagine working on Cyberpunk or The Elder Scrolls 6 for every day for up to 6 years of your life, and then once it's released, seeing so much negative press saying how bad the product you made turned out to be. I can't imagine how soul-crushing that would be as a game dev. And I know I'm kind of diverting away from the Creation Club quite a bit, but I think it's an important thing to remember. And it's also an important factor in discussing our next topic, that I think also gets people way more worked up than it's worth. In November of 2018, Bethesda Game Studios released their first online action role-playing title, and this release was very interesting for me to observe personally. I think we all know how the public reception played out with this game upon its launch, but I do wonder how much of it is actually faithful to players' experiences. You see, upon the first week of the game coming out, I observed a very strange thing that happened to one of my friends. I was cracking on, playing on my own, having honestly the time of my life, and just across the world was a friend of mine, also having the time of his life, and he would tell me that he really liked the game, and was having lots of fun, and all seemed like it was going swimmingly for Bethesda Game Studio's first co-op online experience. But then YouTubers started to make videos, saying they didn't like the game, and Bethesda had wasted their time and delivered a false product and all of these sorts of things. And suddenly, the next time I spoke to that same friend that a few days ago was enjoying the game, he suddenly had a change of tone, and began telling me about how the game was unfinished and full of false promises. It was at that moment when I finally fully saw the impact of "my favourite YouTuber doesn't like the game, so neither do I" effect. And I'm not saying any criticism of the game is unwarranted, but there does seem to be a double standard. No one seems to truly care all too much about bugs in other Elder Scrolls games. And honestly, I think a lot of the issues come down to us as a community not really knowing what we truly want out of Bethesda. People ask for modders to be hired and make content for the game, and then scorn them when Bethesda does so. Or they beg for a multiplayer co-op Fallout game, where you can build and survive together, and then tell Bethesda they should have been doing something else instead. And it's not even to say that people can't think Fallout 76 is a bad game, or that the Creation Club isn't worth the money. People are allowed to have those opinions, but I just think the way some people have started to treat Bethesda, and especially its devs, is a little disingenuous, and more in favour of the clicks on YouTube it gets rather than what they actually feel. And it's not about being blindlessly happy with everything they do, but it's just recognising that they are just a collective of people too, and they want to deliver the best game possible, just as much as we want it. Okay, I know I kind of went a bit off rails with that last point, but the overarching sentiment is still prevalent. I think it's about time we gave Bethesda a bit of slack and gave them a chance to create the type of games they want to create. And I know many of you are eager to get your hands on their Elder Scrolls 6, but we can wait, truly. Skyrim isn't going anywhere anytime soon, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Bethesda can do when they create something they want to create. And to many people's fears of the next Elder Scrolls, I'll say this: whether it's being afraid of it being too toned down and being less of an RPG experience, or the terrifying prospect that your player character might possibly be voiced, I want to say go in the game with an open mind and let Bethesda adapt and create the game they want to create. Morrowind will still be there, Oblivion won't go anywhere, and Skyrim will likely be released 4 more times. But whatever this next game turns out to be, whether it's more or less like you envisioned it, remember, it's never going to look better than Skyrim with 2,000 mods. It's never going to be the game that you hand-chose mods to create your perfect experience. Because everybody looks for different things in their perfect Elder Scrolls game. Everyone wants Bethesda to make the game that they envisioned in their head. And for some, the game they make will be the one they always dreamed of. And for most people, it won't. And we've got to be able to accept as a community that that's okay. And that's the main message I want to get across in this video. I honestly just wanted to get a positive opinion out there in video form because I'm just a little tired of seeing how much slack Bethesda gets just for clicks on YouTube. And when the Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, I'll be out there on the front lines taking it all in. And if it's as horrible as people seem to want to make it out to be, then feel free to make me eat my words. But I think everything's going to be just fine. From the shores of Skyrim, to the rolling hills of Skyblivion, to the release of the extended cut, to the eventual update of Inigo version 3. There's so many things yet to happen before TES 6, and Skyrim isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Whether the next Elder Scrolls is in 3 or 6 years' time, a community will still be here, ready to take our next adventure in Tamriel. And like Todd Howard once said, it'll all just work. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.